for the show? All right. Well, we'll get rolling here, and I want to thank all of you for taking time to join us, both in person and online. And today's focus is bold moves, and I curated some of our more. They're all beautifully creative at this celebration of fine art, but I curated some people who really keep kind of pushing the limits and coming up with things that most of us might not have never come up with on our own. But I'm Susan with Celebration of Fine Art with our amazing team of people. And joining us today right here is Cary and Henrie from Salt Lake City, Bountiful, Utah. Beautiful Bountiful. Yes. And then Sundie Ruppert all the way from Iowa. Which we had from Brad, but we were just having Sundie with us today. And then the beautiful Brit Hansen from Northern Arizona, St. Joseph. Very creative minds, and how many of you would ever have thought about carving paint and having that be an incredible art form? Anyone? No. How about using leftover felt from hat making? Nope. How about building 4-dimensional art pieces? Nope. Well, they are all here today to share how they come up with their ideas and how they can really positively impact all of you and bring joy to your life. So I'm going to start, Cary, if each of you just give us a brief, like, where you're from, who you are, and why are you drawn to art?
So I started entering a contest in elementary school, and I started winning them in Utah, and it was really encouraged in Utah. So my senior year, I won like $5,000 in art contests.
Wow.
And I thought, okay, I'll do this. It's easier than physics. So I got a scholarship to Pratt Institute, New York City, which is like the Harvard of art schools. And I actually met Andy Warhol as a young art student. And he was my hero and model for always changing and always being innovative. And he was very, very productive. I knew ultraviolet really well. I was right in the scene with New York City with Tom Ford and Andy Warhol and Basquiat and Keith Henrie. And only Ford is alive now, so that's kind of cool. But anyway, that's my background. Is in the city for years and years and years, and then moved to Utah. And I just love innovative material. When I first started, even this show, I would watch people walk by and I would count the seconds, and I call this capture. And when I started here, it was like 1,000, 2, 1,000. It was 2.5 seconds before they decide to go into the booth or not. And it's now down to 1.5 seconds. I keep on watching this, so anything I can do with the kind of mirrors modern architecture, it's going more modern. Desert Mountain back in the day was all Tuscan, and it's now going a lot sleeker. So I try to favor materials that are really crisp and clean and modern. So I have I wish you could see it better, but this is a clear sculpture that can go outside, a curved mirror, and then this actually has 4 dimensions above the mirror, so you can see inside it. So that's kind of an overview.
That's really awesome, okay. And we're going to learn more about that. But that's a great background. I guess I didn't realize that you won that many awards in high school and got that scholarship. That's amazing. So destined for art. So yeah, Sundie,
Well, I'm going to follow Cary and say in 4th grade, 1976. No, that would have been 5th grade. I won the Baskin-Robbins poster contest where I made the Rocky Road and all those things. So same kind of background.
Did you get ice cream?
Oh yeah, I got a lot of ice cream. I think I got ice cream for a year. Not $5,000 worth, but you know. And yeah, it was fun, and it was like that was kind of the thing. Because when I was a very little kid, I used to lay. I remember in Saturday morning cartoons weren't on because the Vietnam War ending was on TV all the time, and I would lay under the coffee table and draw on the bottom of the coffee table. And I always said I wanted to be a sign painter. So We actually do hand-carved custom signage, so I guess my dream came true. But this is our art supply. Not coffee table or Baskin Robbins, but we rescue the remnant that's trimmed off the brims from a friend who's a hat maker. My husband Brad and I have been found object sculptors for over 25 years, and for 15 years we did a very different body of work, and then we were being copied very poorly, and so we wanted to move on, and serendipitously we landed on the felt, and we've been doing this for 12 years, and we create sustainable and acoustically functional artwork, which is incredibly important in all of these high ceiling, hard surface homes y'all have down here. Right. So we have found our people, and we appreciate it. So no.
We're artists, not technicians.
There we go.
I thought it was Mozart. So I grew up in a family of artists. I'm a fourth generation artist, and creativity was always really important in my home growing up, but my parents being artists were always like, no, go do something else. It's funny that Cary said art is easier than physics. I was going to college for physics. And then it was in college, my second year, that I took an art class and started doing block printing and loved it. And yes, it was much easier than physics, and I loved it. It was all I wanted to do. And then I was doing photography. I worked as a destination wedding photographer for about 10 years with my husband. And I think that I'm so grateful for that, and like learning composition and color, and then really got back into block printing when I was on bed rest with my daughter. And then that's after I had her, that's all I wanted to do. I just wanted to carve all the time. Well, to me, carving traditionally is block printing. So that's what I worked as a block printer for 5-6 years. But I loved the carving part. So I would carve and then make really, really small editions of prints because I didn't want to do the printing part. I wanted to do the carving part. And people would ask, well, sell your block. And it got me thinking, well, what if I just carve? What could I offer that's a original piece that's carved? And I tried carving wax and wood and clay. And then I started to think, I wonder if I could carve paint. And after lots of experimenting, I got it to work.
And it's fabulous. And we've got examples up on the wall of each of their works, but we're going to come back to you and learn a little bit more about your technique. And it's been really fun for me because how many years have you been with us?
I think it's 15.
15.
Yeah. And every year I get ready because people come in and say, is this your first year?
It's the first day of your career.
Yes.
But to watch each of these, well, all of the artists evolve over the years, it's really exciting. And people ask, how does the show keep getting better? It's because every year the artists are just applying themselves to bring better and more interesting and complex works. And then the new artists that come in, they have to be able to contribute at that level. So it's really exciting from a curator standpoint. But I remember meeting Sundie the first time when COVID hit. There was the Downtown Scottsdale Art Festival canceled on Thursday night after all the artists were set up and they had to unset up everything. And so they were in town and they came by, because I'm not sure, like if somebody told me we do sculpture out of felt, I would have understood that, but meeting them and seeing a little bit of the work and the passion just really inspired me. So connecting here is what we're all about. And you, Cary, as you just explained, you do a really good job connecting with people and watching what lights them up. And your reflective work really has captured something different there.
Yeah, I really, a lot of people, what I'm trying to get are people that say, I keep on hearing two different things. I don't want my parents' art. And then number two is, I don't usually go to a gallery, but I want that. That's, in other words, we're hitting a much broader people than people back in the day. They used to say, I'm going to an art gallery. I want to hit people that walk in off the street. I was talking to Dan about my new gallery, but And they go, wow, I don't know much about art, but I want that. And so how do you do it?
How do you do it?
Just give them that wow factor. When they walk by, they go, what is that on? And how does it move? And how do you do it? And it gets them excited. And also in their homes, there's so many windows now, the new architecture. It looks really cool with no lighting at all. And you don't have to have any lighting, and it looks really interesting. They go outdoors, indoors, and people want, when their friends come by, they want that wow factor.
Yeah.
So it's really cool.
So what got you figuring out how to make this four-dimensional? And I will invite everyone to come up closer and go to their studios after we finish. But this new work this year, the four-dimensional pieces, how does that work? And it literally, you look like you could go inside there and touch and feel everything.
So every day, if you walk by my booth, I've got this book, and I just do sketches. And I go, what are people reacting to? I think, well, I'm on the mirror, but what if I put something on top of the mirror? And then what if I did 3 plexiglass sheets on top of the mirror? And that's where it came out. Okay. So it gets this kind of optical 3D effect.
Very good. Awesome. Thank you. Yeah, you really have to see it to...
And it's available for Valentine's Day.
We got love. There's also golf over there, but yeah, that's a good piece. So Sundie, when you and Brad happened to be visiting your friend at your Greeley Hat Works, I remember some other people might, but Brad kind of picked that up and said, what do you do with this?
What do you do with this? We literally, because we were delivering one of those signs that I was training to do when I was a little kid, we just asked for a tour to see how hats were made. And on the tour, Brad picked these up and said, what do you do with these? And they said, if y'all can figure out something to do with them, we'll save them for you. I looked at him like he was kind of off his rocker, because I said, there's nothing in the middle, there's nothing there. And you're married to someone who doesn't like to sew on a button. So I'm like, where are you going with textiles? And he was like, just let me take a bag home and see what I can come up with. And so he's cut out a simple crow shape and started nailing pieces of felt down to the wood. And then he asked me what I could come up with for an eye. And I came up with this whole, we use such fancy art supplies. I get metal flashing from Home Depot. And paint the face pieces. And, then when we were here, the first year, we had 2 clients walk in and let us know that our work was functional with the sound. And we literally did not know that. And now that's a whole other path that we are going down. So we were also, as Susan always says, it's all about connections here. The first week of the show this year, we had a guy come in who's a podcaster. And he is working on these sound capturing boxes, and he wanted art to go in the middle of the back to make them look better for fellow podcasters. And so we're doing this collaboration with him, and he was able to take one of our pieces back to his studio and test it for sound, which is something we've always been asked, and we didn't have a number to apply to our work. He gave us a chart, and those professional foam egg crates that are like toxic that people have on their walls if they do podcasting and such they range from a 0.6 to a 0.9 on the sound dampening scale. And our artwork, the PC tested anyway, it depends on how the texture's done, but they come in at a 0.45 and we do it beautifully. So just under what's considered professional, but we can reduce the echo and the tinny sounds and all that stuff in your spaces that are really loud down here.
Well, we do have a lot of hard surfaces.
We do.
So yeah, it's so beautiful and functional. I love that.
Yep.
And we're going to talk a little bit about the scope of you go from animals to abstracts and everything in between, and how you assemble everything. But I want to go back to Brit. And when you started, how many layers of paint did you start with when you started this carving, and now how many layers might one of your pieces have now?
So when I started out, I tried with like one color, and I probably layered it way too thick because it was also like procrastinating, like, okay, is this gonna work? Is that thick enough? Is that thick enough? And probably laid down about 20 to 30 coats of paint. Now I'll do anywhere from 3 to 10 colors, and we'll coat a panel anywhere from 20 to 80 coats. But I don't count as much as I used to either. I think also because it's more intuitive now. I know, like, okay, this piece, this piece, you know, a certain size, I know 48 by 48 is going to need at least 1 gallon of paint for one color. So I can say, okay, when this bucket is gone, I'll be done.
What kind of paint are you using?
I use artist acrylic, so a variety of different brands, but all high quality, like fast artist acrylic.
So are you reverse engineering, like do you have a sketch of what you want and you have the colors picked out and then you have to layer the colors so that you know how deep to carve is?
Yeah, so I start with a full color sketch first. So I sketch everything on my iPad and I will do just a black and white drawing first like I would in a sketchbook, and then I'll start to color it in and figure out exactly what I want it to look like, two-dimensional with the colors. And then I spend a lot of time just staring at that. So I will seriously just be staring at my iPad for maybe 10 minutes, just thinking about how I want it to look sculpturally. What kind of texture do I want it to have? What colors do I want to have to be the deepest? What do I want to kind of stick out? And so, because a piece will look completely different if I layer like the yellows in this, I have them deeper, and then all the greens are up ahead. And then I have to know those things also for how thick I need the colors to be. If I'm giving it a really deep V cut, or if I'm doing a really shallow U gouge, that could be the difference of giving it 5 coats of that color compared to 20 coats of that color.
Do you make a map? I mean, do you remember what is underneath of there, 80 coats down?
Yeah, if I'm doing a piece close to 10 colors, that's when I have to sometimes refer to the notes. Like I just did a piece with eucalyptus and hummingbirds, and it had really gradual change of blues. And that was the first time in a while where I keep carving and carving and carving deeper and deeper, and then I'm like, wait, is there another dark blue under there? And I had to go back to the notes and look at, because I make like a color swatch of each color and put it next to it, because I'm like, I don't want to hit the wood, I don't want to go too deep. But most of the time I remember what's below. It's pretty, I mean, after coating, you know, gallons onto a panel for weeks, it's pretty burned into my brain.
Do you have a favorite moment when you're doing this? Is it zen-like as you're applying the layers and then it gets more exciting when you're carving?
Like nothing beats that first carve. Like when it's done and I've sketched the design on the top and I'm like, okay, ready to go. And when at the very beginning, years ago, I've now been carving paint for 9 years. The very beginning, that first cut was like, oh, okay, am I ready for this? Did I be nervous? Did I do it right? And now it's just exciting. Now I get the tools and I'm like, okay, ready to go, and just start digging into it and seeing how the colors interact with each other is always really exciting.
Okay. What do you do with all the shavings?
I have buckets and buckets of shavings. I have probably had almost every artist here tell me that I need to figure out something to do with them. And
give it a brand
they also refer to Sundie and say, Sundie uses that felt, you need to do something with this. And someday I hope I'll have a good idea, because I think it's really beautiful on its own, having all these little strips of colors and chips of color. But so far nothing's come to me, so I've given them away to other artists to use, and they've been used in creating gorgeous pieces. And then I also just save a ton of it, so I have buckets of it in my studio that I think someday I'm going to be grateful that I saved all of this.
Well, I like to come over and just play with it. It's very relaxing.
It's very relaxing. Come to my booth and just play. It's like better than a Zen garden.
But you can't erase. So if you go too far? Do you just have to make it seem like it was all part of the plan?
Yeah, I really don't want to do that because I am a perfectionist too. I go through all that planning of how I want it to look. The last thing I want to do is slip. So I have a rule that if I'm not in the right mindset to carve, if I slip once, and I'm like, okay, pull it together, don't do that again. And if I slip twice, I put the tool down, take a break. It's not worth messing up. Like if I go a little too deep, that's something where I can touch it up. It's paint. I'm usually having to, paint some on top anyway to bring it to life. But slipping and carving into like a negative space, like with the horse, if I went off with the ear and carved off, I can't give the horse 2 ears.
Well, not on the same side of the head.
Not on the same side of the head.
Well, you could. It's art. Creative freedom. Yeah. So, that you brought up an interesting idea. Like, when do you know when to quit? Like, Cary, how many? I know you do sketch all day, and I love going by and looking at the little sketches. But how much time do you spend a day creating?
It just depends. We call it, my daughter, Abby, yay. We call it art show bingo. You can have a card and you say, and the card is going to be, how long did it take you to make this? My grandma's an artist. Let me show you something on my phone. Anyway, they always ask you, how long does it take? And I asked Andy Warhol that, and at his studio, he had all these paintings on the wall, and you just go back and forth to them. That's what I do. None of them it's not like cookies, you put them in for 20 minutes. You have a whole series, and then I'm working on something over here, and then it keeps your mind fresh to move around, and I never know how long it takes. And people say, how do you know when you're done? When they sell, that's when you're done.
When they find their home. So I like it. It's not like cookies.
Yeah, that's right.
They're calorie-free and last for life. Yeah, I love it.
So I'm going to work on scratch and sniff next. We'll try that.
Approach all of the senses, yes. So what was it like being at the Pratt Institute back then with all those people? I mean, did you feel inspired? Did you feel energized by it? Intimidated?
Oh yeah, everything. It was New York City in the 80s. I was in the clubs again with Madonna and the whole bit. It was New York Times Square was filthy. It was just an amazing time to be there. And it's a lot. The subways were insane. I remember standing on the subway platform, literally, and I look up right at the right second, and a window came out of the subway, and I ducked, and it went right over my head. But it was the best time ever for New York, by far. I mean, it was so artsy, and now it's too expensive. So yeah, it was very intimidating, but it was kind of like the Olympics every day. It was so cool. So it was a lot of fun.
And what did your work look like then, since your work has evolved a lot?
So just like Andy Warhol, I was an illustrator. I did covers for Sports Illustrated, Reader's Digest, Esquire, Business Week, Forbes, any type of big publication. Andy Warhol did the same thing. He did a lot of footwear ads, and I followed in that tradition. And then as you could see how I started to enter shows in Soho, just regular art shows, and I could see that print was gradually going out of, it was just disappearing with the digital era, and you have to always think ahead as an artist, and you just simply have to be inventive. Otherwise, you have to pick a different career. And so I've had to reinvent myself over every single year. So recently I was reading about Warren Buffett didn't make his first serious money until he was 65. So in Louise Nevelson, I don't think she sold a piece till she was 72. So I got a lot of years ahead of me. I'm excited.
That's true. And Warren Buffett certainly made up for it, but it's compound interest. I've read the book. I love the journeys of how people get here, and the fact that that had to be exciting to be there. New York is always exciting. Yes, it's too expensive, but I got to be there in December and experience Christmas windows, which was awesome. I don't know how they come up with their ideas, but it was really cool. but wouldn't want to live there. Love to visit, but so let's go back a little bit to the process. You have a wonderful partner back there who does, as I say about Jake does the heavy lifting, I do the fun stuff. Kind of same. So can you kind of give us an insight to how your process works? Do you start with a sketch? Do you freelance or freeform anything, or how does it work?
So, especially because we work as a team, it has to be sketched, it has to be designed. So we started with animals because it was easy for me to draw an animal and hand it off to Brad, and he creates the wood subsculpture, because that's why our work has so much volume, is there is, 3 to 5 layers of wood, not as many layers as Brit, but underneath to give the volume to the pieces. And I create the wood, or the original sketches and the color palettes. Then I hand those sketches off to Brad, and via old school overhead projector, he blows them up so that if you want, I don't know if you've all seen like the big bear, $3.99 over there. If you want a smaller bear, we can do a smaller bear. And we don't have to reinvent the wheel because we've got it on a transparency and all of that, so we can just make it smaller. And then he builds up the wood and carves it down so it has a nice smooth transition. And then he cuts the felt and he figures out what pattern he wants to do. And every single piece of felt is hand cut. There is no machine. People ask me all the time, you have a machine that cuts this? And I'm like, yeah, I married him and his name is Brad.
And no, he's not available.
And he's not available. He's busy working. But you can't run this through anything. There's no Cricut machine. There's nothing that we can do. And as you can see, we get all these different widths. So it's just not possible. So we cut them all he cuts them all by hand, and he shingles them on like a house. So like on an animal, it always starts on the outer edge or the bottom and works toward the face. So if it's looking straight at you, it goes in from the center. If it's sideways, it just, like on a bird, it goes from the feet all the way up to the beak. And then I create, while he's doing all that, I create all of the metal. So the metal pieces serve two purposes. They cover up the last row of nails, and they give the animals their soul. So I do it in multiple layers so that it has the same interest in integrity that the felt does. If I just did a single layer and painted a face on there, it would just look stuck on. But when you go in there and you look at all the nail heads are painted because we layered it all in there and everything. It's just me trying to be as interesting as what Brad has done. And then I create all the backgrounds. So whether they're collaged or painted or drawn or carved or whatever, I do all of that. And then he puts them all together and frames them.
And every piece is unique. Even if somebody wants a smaller of the bear, it's still completely handmade and can have different elements to it.
Yeah. And we do, like a lot of times, we do a lot of pet portraits. You know, we can incorporate, like right now, I've got to pitch out to Teddy Roosevelt, news to me, did not have a library, presidential library, but he will as of July 4th of this year in North Dakota. And last year at this show, this woman came in that's on the board of the Teddy Roosevelt Museum and loved our bison that we have. And so I pitched to her that we do a bison for them, for the museum and library, and use all vintage copies of vintage Roosevelt era documents in the background. And you know, I in my email I said, and on a personal note, as a proud graduate of Teddy Roosevelt High School in Des Moines, Iowa, I would really like to do this piece. So we're looking for, I guess they're trying to raise money, but that's as far as we've gotten. But I mean, that's how we can personalize things. We do that on a very regular basis to make your artwork yours. And I get it. I always find it interesting, and I get it. The felt is so unusual that that's what people look at. And I will get emails and phone calls and texts after the fact. People spend a very nice amount of their hard-earned money on our artwork and really not paying attention to everything they're buying. And they text me later and go, what is that, bingo cards?
Yep, bingo or Keno or
yeah, right. And I'm like, yes, it is. And they're like, I was like, our art is like an onion. It just, something new reveals itself depending on how you look at it.
Well, and I have to say, felt is heavy. It's like paper. Have you ever picked up a bunch of magazines, to take on the airplane because you have time to read, and you're like, oh my gosh, what? So felt is heavy, and the backing board is heavy. And watching these two try to hang their studio this year, I'm like, hey, you guys could have picked something like a lighter element, but
and then Todd Paxton came along with those giant Indian heads.
Yeah.
I didn't feel so bad.
yeah. So, and by the way, the Greeley Hat Works is the hat company that did all of Yellowstone and the Taylor Sheridan series. This one that I'm holding in my hand says John Dutton.
John
Dutton.
Yeah.
So this hat went to you. Yeah. So
he does all the main characters. When they started doing Shop the Scene, where you can point a QR code and go, I want what Beth is wearing, it became way more than Greeley Hat Works could handle. So they did have to get other hat makers involved, but he does do all the main characters. He's done all of Taylor Sheridan's hats for years, like Wind River, the Jeremy Renner character, or Come Hell or High Water. And then that's one character, a couple of hats, for a prop, and then it becomes an entire multi-series event. And let's just say that in the last 6 years, our art supplies have increased dramatically because of the Yellowstone series.
which is great.
Yeah.
So you can make bigger,
Yeah.
more stuff.
Yeah.
Britt, what is the most challenging piece you've ever worked on?
Oh wow. I feel like I have a habit of creating really, really intricate designs. And then I spend even more time staring at my iPad wondering how I'm gonna make it. I think my first year here, I made a San Pedro cactus. It was a 48 by 48 piece, and that is still probably one of the most intricate pieces I've ever made. It had, it was all these rows. A San Pedro is kind of like an organ pipe where it's just tons of rows. Well, I decided that also within each cacti part, I was going to do these tiny little grooves. And I just cut these tiny little marks on it for just weeks and weeks. I love doing horses. I think that I'm working right now on a large 60 by 60 with 3 running horses. And each horse is getting its own color palette. So it's pretty intense. But I'm always trying to push, I draw something that I thought, I love that. And trying to figure out how to make it work.
So it's interesting, the tools of the trade would be fun to, we did that one year with easels or with palettes. We should do a quiz of, can you guess which tools of the trade these belong to? And I was talking with Sherry Meldrum the other day, and Sherry does the woven copper, and she had this new roller tool. As it turns out, we have an artist new to the show this year who also does hand therapy. And he was watching her use this tool she used to use, and he's like, oh, that's bad for your wrist and your hand. So he told her what to get, and totally, she was having pain in her elbow, doesn't have it anymore. So
He came and talked to me too. And
Tom Conklin. He's a woodworker who does fabulous inlay wood, but I bet there's a few of you who could use some help.
I go to acupuncture every month. I have a physical therapist.
Chiropractic,
it's a lot.
anti-inflammatories, all the things. We really have, all of us here.
Yeah.
We have to treat our bodies like that.
These are the
please.
tools. Yeah.
I mean, honestly, if you don't take care of yourself as a self-employed independent artist, your career is going to be very short. And it is incredibly important for all of us to do preventative medicine whenever possible, because it's just too hard to try and repair when you really, really hurt yourself. And when you do repetitive motion, I mean, I always joke, but it's not a joke. We don't have a social life. We work and make art all the time.
Yeah, I want to still be doing this when I become famous at 80. Yeah.
You all are the $1 million racehorses, so you got to take care of you, keep you healthy and strong. What brings you, each of you, what brings you the most joy out of what you do?
Oh, being able to provide for my family, by far, yeah. The family's the best, and it's a lot of fun to do what I do. I'll never forget my neighbor. Susan's been in my house, and my neighbor has a Rolls Royce, and he's a private banker, and I go, hey, do you like what you do? And he said, I was fully expecting him to say, yeah, I'm living the dream, you know. And he hated what he did because it was so much pressure. It was like for UBS or like one of those Swiss banks, and he said, I have these very, very wealthy people, and I have their private portfolios, and all they do is comment all day long, asking what's wrong, why is the market down? He said, I'll never forget, when I was in college, I would do caricatures on the wharf, and that was by far my favorite thing to do, and that really put it, I absolutely love what I do. It's just so much fun to do it, and I like to invent. It's just, to me, it's like Leonardo da Vinci. It's just learning how to invent, and the fact you can sell it. We're just so grateful to you all for buying it. We really are. So thank you.
Yeah. I love that. Yeah, he does have a beautiful home, and it's like 360-degree view. Awesome. Beautiful. And a beautiful family. Yes. Including Abby over here. So, Sundie, what about you? What brings you the most joy?
Dots are therapeutic for me. I know. I have a nickname, the Dot Master, or the Daughter, and I'm like D-O-T-T-E-R, not the other one. I don't know. In our previous body of work, I started putting dots on things to like accentuate. We used to use found objects, like we would use like the old oak mirror frames that would be on an old buffet, right, in the Midwest, that you get it in an antique store, and it's all scrolled and cut and beautiful, and I would want those things to be accentuated. It was beautiful, and I would put on these layers of metallic dots. Layering is a very common theme with this group up here. And there's just something about dots and circles, and it's the world, it's Earth, it's all encompassing. There's just so much mythology behind circles. To this day, I don't do, with the exception of the hearts, is the only thing that we really do that still has dots on it. When we do rooster faces, I do rooster faces with lots of dots on the comb and all of that. So now my version of dots is I cut out big cardboard circles in the backgrounds that go underneath of the papers, that go underneath of the pastels, that go under, right? So there's just all this layering, and that's just something is always repeated in our work, is some sort of dots.
Could have called this layers of luxury or something. Layers of awesomeness. Okay, what about you?
Well, I have to agree with Cary. Like, I have to pinch myself all the time that I get to be an artist for a living and support my family. I have a 7-year-old and a 9-year-old, and my husband does this with me. I could never do all of this without him. He does all of my framing, my shipping, pretty much everything behind the scenes. so that I can carve and create beautiful pieces for people's spaces and hopefully bring joy. I just love it.
Wonderful. It is great to love it. I love what I do. Like coming here is a joy for sure.
There's a lot more to life than just having a Mercedes-Benz and clients, because he doesn't enjoy his life.
Or his Rolls Royce.
Or his Rolls Royce, whatever he's got. There's just so much more to life, I feel like, when you are a creative person than, and it honestly, it's very, very difficult. Like, I'm speaking for myself, but I think I'm speaking for everyone up here, to not create. Not creating for several days is probably about the most painful thing that I can do. I mean, yes, it's nice to take a break every once in a while, but it's like the minute I have the opportunity to get back in there, it's just, that's my happy place.
Well, I'm so grateful to be able, like, of course, it would be painful not to create, but you need both sides too, because while I love creating it, I don't get to keep any of it. Like, I'm happy to see it go out into the world, and for me, it means paying my bills and putting food on the table for my children. And I, sell a piece, and then that money right away just goes into whatever bills, it's gone, right? But that piece for someone else is something that they get to enjoy for the rest of their lives. So I think that there's so much value in that.
Agreed. Art brings joy, makes you smile. Okay, so what have I not asked you that I should ask you?
I wondered if there's anybody out there, do they ask us questions? If they had any kooky questions?
Yeah, we definitely do questions for sure, but only kooky ones.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
I'd like to know what kind of tools you use, both of you, all of you.
I use wood carving tools.
What do your tools look like?
I use wood carving tools, just palm tools. So I don't use a Dremel or anything, like that. They're all just simple chisels and gouges and banners.
Simple.
We use very, very sharp scissors that Susan likes to say.
Brad has his very own scissor holster. How many of you have a scissor holster? Yeah. I think we should start marketing those. I think it'd be great.
But it is primarily just, fabric shears that have to be re-sharpened very often. Sometimes he'll use a roller, X-Acto knife. For me, the, Home Depot aluminum or galvanized steel I learned because I'm having a very difficult time sourcing here what I need. So now I'm looking at sheet metal shops. And okay, good. Will they return my phone call? Because so far I'm not having good luck with that. And I just use acrylic paint. I do use, sometimes when we first came here, I have to say, with all these amazing painters, I felt so insecure because I never considered myself a painter, and I never used oils, and I use the little metallic craft bulk art paint bottles that to me is very crafty, but there's something about the metallic, just like Cary's work with the shimmer, the shine, that is a wonderful juxtaposition with the felt, with the mattness and the softness of the felt. When I just use regular paint, it just kind of, or the little bit of shimmer just kind of pops off of there, and it also emulates the metal that is getting painted on. And then vintage documents, like many of the pieces that we have here, we use vintage Arizona Highways magazines that I had a huge collection of before we ever started to come into Arizona doing shows, so I was like, bonus, I've got lots of that. It just, the things that we can find that are interesting and have character, and because we started in graphic design, people always ask why we use the bingo cards, and I'm like, well, because they're a great juxtaposition with the general store ledgers from the 1800s, when you had an account, you went in every week and you know, bought your stuff and paid for it at the end of the week, and it's beautiful pen and ink, cursive writing. I just love all that, and then I try to make it so that you can get little glimmers of what it says, like when it says Winslow, Arizona, behind the desert cardinal, things like that. Just little Easter eggs, the onion thing again.
Do you have any S&H green stamps?
Yes.
Yeah, how
I
many people
have
remember
S&H
those?
green stamps, and I have the gold one.
Gold bond.
Gold, was it gold bond or regal gold or something? Yeah, I have those, yeah.
And then we used to cut out cereal box things.
I still use cereal boxes. So Brad just said the other day, I think we need to make the cereal a tax deduction because you're using the boxes. And I was like, you're right. We use in our previous body of work, my accountant was always like, why are you deducting all this beer? And I said, because we need the certain color of cap that we used to use, and I cannot control the liquid that's in the bottle. All I want is the cap. I'm not saying we didn't drink it, but it's how you get your art supplies.
That's right. Again, decorative and functional.
That's right. Right.
Golly, I don't know. What question did I ask to get these answers?
What's your favorite thing?
Oh, tools. What do you use?
So interesting that I found out really quick, it's really easy to paint conventional. All three of us, we do not paint or do create art conventionally. That is just critical. Like Gerhard Richter, he's the #1 artist on the living planet today. I think he made like 200 million last year. He uses squeegees in his work, and giant squeegees. And it's just cool. A lot of us get inspiration from Home Depot, and it's just really, really fun to invent it. It's like alchemy from creating gold out of interesting things. Lately, I was late today because I'm trying to figure out large bed lasers. So I'm working on that right now. So that'll be cool. We'll see what happens. Laser beams. So.
Ooh, that sounds exciting.
Not to shoot, but to cut.
Yeah. to carve. And I love the acrylic because you can paint on the front, the back. You can float your things inside of it.
Yeah, definitely. Anything that, like the onion peel, it's just really fun to get closer. Like if you look at Brit's, both Brit and Sundie, from back there you can't tell all the things like bingo. I didn't know that about that. But same with me. But walking by you can tell something's up. So we really want you to come up and look closer at these things. My idea with this piece over here, there's a lot of outdoor sculptures that are metal and bronze, and the fact that mine are clear and a mirror at the same time is really cool. So for example, last season, a couple from Paradise Valley has this in their courtyard. Like, and it's outdoors, it works great, but why not do something clear that isn't quite, it's more durable than Del Chihuli's glass sculptures. It's kind of the same vibe. So.
Okay. Deanna, she has a question.
Hi. I'll be nice. No, we own Cary's work, and I just want to say that Ken and I have no windows because we have all walls, and we need more walls. But this stuff works so well with or without light. You came and hung it because Ken's not allowed on ladders anymore. But they're great filler pieces for great spots. Your horse is a great, I just want to say, art goes anywhere. People go, well, where are you going to put it, Deanna? I don't know, but somewhere. There's, I hear people.
I have art in my pantry.
I love it. I have it in my laundry room. I hear people say, well, we don't have more walls, but yeah, you do. Just look.
That's when I say time to rotate and donate.
And we rotate and we sell.
Yeah. Well, what I say when somebody says, I'm going to wall space, you're a collector. Let's get you some more art.
Are you there?
This is for Sundie. I was wondering about, you have 3 different colors there on the hat pieces, and several different colors on those 2 pieces. How do you get those colors?
So, you know the word happy accident? The phrase happy accident, and invention is, what is it? Is necessity is the mother of invention? Thank you. For the first 3 years, we did wolves and bears and bison and dogs and horses and cats and all things brown, because it's primarily cowboy hats. He does have the account for Miss Rodeo America, so I always say, God bless the rodeo queens, we do get a little color. However, we don't have any control over that color, and we don't get very much. So before we found Susan, we were doing shows in Florida, and we were not selling well. And I'm sitting there looking, going, okay, we gotta come up with something, you know, that's a better price point, that's, you know, more Florida-ish, whatever, even though we had birds and fish. And so I said, how about palm trees? And Brad goes, did you bring dye? Because I had been working with doing these transparent dyes, and it wasn't working well, and I was trying to keep these formulas, and I was like, no, I'm not packing all that stuff to go to Florida for a month. And I said, but there's a Home Depot right over there. And so I went in and bought 3 different colors of green in the sample, jar, diluted it, and we started dyeing. And we started dyeing on everything. So the Thrive piece here, the only thing that is not dyed on that is the very, very top yellow butter color. Everything else is dyed. And we dye on everything from buckskin to black. And I dye on 5 different colors. And when I do that, I can get all of that wonderful, slow, gradual transition of color. So like in the middle there, you see like a lime green color. That's the lime green dyed on buckskin. And down about 3/4 of the way down, that's the exact same color, but it's dyed on gunmetal gray felt. And so we put 2 coats on one side and 1 coat on the other side. So that means we get, out of 5 different colors of felt, we get 10 different colors by doing 2 coats on one side and 1 coat on the other side. And it just adds to all of that detail and texture and a smoother transition than what we could ever get by what hats are made out of.
Then the white crayon there, is that
The white is actually white, and we kind of wish the 70s urban cowboy, white cowboy hat thing would come back, because we don't get very much white at all. It's very rare to get white. So yeah, and there's a little bit of gray and tan and yellow under there, because that's where the birds get their feathers dirty. That's why they're that color.
Okay. I can see that. Yeah, good question. Who else has some questions? Katie was on the screen. We need to back to the view.
My voice carries. What do you use to keep your hands working like this? What kind of therapy do you use?
Oh, what do they do to keep their hands?
Acupuncture, chiropractor, Theragun, that's amazing. For us, we use spirulina, anti-inflammatory, which is a very fast-acting anti-inflammatory. And when things get really painful, then we'll do some meloxicam for prescribed. But we really do try and stay ahead of it. A little ice, but not as much now that we use a lot of the Theragun is a really, really good tool for your hands in particular. I would highly suggest.
Yeah, I can't express that enough. Back in school, I became ambidextrous. So I can do right and left-handed, anything, right, everything's signed. That's good to do. But I have a hypervolt massage gun that just works wonders on your hands. I just literally go up and down all the nerve endings. That is critical, how good that is. You see it in the NFL. If it's good enough for them, it's good enough for me.
That's literally where we started. We were watching quarterback with Patrick Mahomes, and his trainer makes him twist and turn and all these things so that when he gets hit like that, on the field, he doesn't snap in half. He's very agile, and I'm sitting there watching that going, that's us. I mean, we're not getting tackled on the field, but if our body's not working, we're not paying our bills. So you have to stay, you can't let yourself get bad. You've got to stay on top of it, and that is incredibly important. And Brit's husband built her a special tool.
Last year at the beginning of the show, I had hurt my wrist, just overuse, and I was really stressed, thinking, how am I going to do this? Now I'm starting, I need to be in tip-top shape for the next 10 weeks. And so he made me this, it's like a sleeve that my tool would go in, that I could hold with a bar that would go my whole length of my arm, so it was specially made for me, and then had a end that went to my bicep, and so instead of pushing it with my wrist, I was pushing with my whole arm. And what that did actually is that it just trained me to always carve that way. Because the problem was that I had gotten so used to just, twisting and pushing the wrong way, and that tool was like, it just completely trained. And now I don't have to use it anymore. Now I do my exercises for my wrists and do everything a physical therapist tells me. I wear a brace just preventatively while I carve, just to make sure I don't do anything dumb and I keep my wrist nice and straight. But now I work more with my upper arm strength rather than, so a lot of it's just training.
Yeah, muscle training, fitness is important. And this guy, how many Spartan races did you do?
Oh, yeah, the typical reaction of an artist is one that never works out at all. I wanted to blow that out the window. So I got to, the top race I did that Susan talks about was 32 miles with 72 obstacles at 10,000 feet, and I won, so that was cool.
Wow.
So that's a Spartan racing. I got to 15th in the world, and I aged out of all the categories. So, so I'm 65. So.
He's a superstar. Yeah, just recently turned 65.
Wow.
So, really good question, and I think the fact that you are your art. So we need you, and we need you in good health and strength. And if you ever get numbness and tingling, don't ignore that, because that means nerve damage. Because somebody I know ignored it and had surgery, and it's we won't be able to repair all the damage.
It's never the same.
Never the same.
You're better off keeping ahead of it than letting it get bad.
I said to the doctor, oh, he's got a really high pain tolerance. And he's like, pain is one thing, but numbness and tingling, don't ignore it. Go get checked out. So, make sure you don't get nerves entangled. Okay.
Yeah.
I gotta take care of my people. Okay, good questions. I love that. I love that we get audience participation. Anyone else? Anyone? Okay.
I'm curious how you ended up getting in contact with or meeting Andy Warhol in the first place.
Literally bumped right into him. So I knew all about him, and I'd come out of a building, and I literally walked right into him. Wow. And he had two bodyguards about this tall, and talked with him quite a bit there. And he doesn't say very much, though. You really can't talk. My interactions with him were kind of exactly like David Bowie's. He kind of mutters and says things, and he wore that white wig. That classic Andy Warhol hair, it was a wig, because he had a lot of health issues. So why I wanted to be so physically fit is because I saw so many artists just be horrible, like drink themselves to death, he was a wreck, really. And he was a hypochondriac and died in gallbladder surgery. It was kind of an odd thing, but his methods were really, just unreal. One of my favorite things he said was, work now, party later. And a lot of people don't know that. That was pretty cool. So.
I think he did a lot of partying also.
Yeah.
Yes, he did. That's for sure. Yeah.
We're in the work now, party later mode. For real.
I do think, you can meet anybody in New York. Yeah. I mean, especially if you're going to the right place at the right time. But who is the most influential person for each of you in your work? It can be you yourself. Nature.
Well, Andy Warhol, you know, Leonardo da Vinci by far.
Yeah, I see Leonardo da Vinci in you for sure.
The name is blanking in my head. Brad, Tara Donovan. Tara Donovan does amazing found object art, and we went to see her work in Denver, and she uses like coffee filters and plastic cups and makes these those plastic cups, and makes these amazing wall sconces hang down. They look like clouds from the sky, or she'll use mylar, and because we always say we look at things for what they could be instead of what they are. So we really respect any artist that is using non-traditional materials. It is, as I know everyone sitting up here can understand, it is a much harder row to hoe.
Yeah, I'm not fitting in a box, but but it definitely has its advantages.
Yeah. It just takes a while for the world to catch up.
Well, I think that's part of our secret is that we are also innovators and love innovators and love creativity. So,
well, my inspiration definitely comes from nature. A lot of the artworks that I create are from photographs I've taken or my husband's taken. We spend a lot of time out and never know when I see something, and I'll look at him or he'll look at me and say, that's it, I'm doing that right there. And I love that when I look around at the pieces I have in my space, and I have a story for a lot of them of something that happened. Like I have a kestrel piece. It was a kestrel that came and landed in my backyard. I have a dried out agave in front of my studio, and my husband was doing dishes, and he called for me and said, come here, and I ran out, and there was this kestrel just sitting on top of our dried out agave, and took a really horrible iPhone shot of it, but it was enough that I had it for a reference, was able to make that piece. Or wildflowers that I go and photograph. I always feel more connected to my pieces when I have that inspiration, something that hits me, that I say I have to make that.
That's a great piece. So we're about out of time unless there's any other questions. I really encourage you to come up and look closely. Cary Henrie's studio is about halfway down on the north side, and really go look closely at what he has.
I hired a sign twirler today, so you can go by and spin some.
Can I have part of that sign twirler? No. But thank you, Cary, for being on our panel and always having something new and exciting and fresh to share. And Sundie and Brad are just to the right down there in the end cap, and you can go closely look at their work. And Brit Hansen is just around to the left. And I want to thank each of you, Brit, Sundie, Cary, and all of you for being here.